C stand for?
Command and control.
Command and control. Okay.
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 And one of the other things they told us when we went there that all of our mail would be read and screened before it left. And we had an address that was CNC Detachment Drawer 22 APO San Francisco.
Mhm.
So we didn't have an address in Vietnam per se.
Okay.
Well, she explained that to us.
Mhm.
He said, when we tell you not to write about it, we mean it, because we're going to be screening your mail.
Mhm.
Okay. Whether they did or not, I don't know.
Mhm.
You know, they just warned us ahead of time. You know, what you're going to be doing is very classified, and it doesn't need to be
Mhm.
discussed with anybody,
Mhm.
family, friends, anybody. So from there I went to Khartoum. They told us that you know, there was an older sergeant. You know, the rest of us were like private or sergeant, buck sergeants.
Mhm.
There was an older sergeant.
Mhm.
I think he was an E6 or a 7.
So you were E5 by this time?
I was an E5. Yeah,
Okay.
finally made E5.
Okay.
And he said, what we're going to do is we're going to send you to Khartoum.
Mhm.
And each one of the, well, they're to say the CNC detachment was broken up into north, south, and central. North,
Mhm.
central, and south.
Mhm.
CNC was Da Nang headquarters.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they said I was going to be going to Khartoum. And each one of the operating bases within CNC detachment were called FOBs, forward observation
Right.
bases. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was going to be going to 2, which was Khartoum.
Mhm.
So now I'm flying a helicopter.
Mhm.
I'm being transported by helicopter now.
Mhm.
So left Da Nang on the helicopter and headed to Khartoum sometime in mid to late September, probably mid-September, something like that.
Mhm.
I think, everything seemed to fall right around your D-Rose date.
Sure.
Mine was September. Okay,
Mhm.
so I had 1 year left, so they sent me over with 1 year to go.
Mhm.
So there was early to mid-September, I think, when I ended up in Khartoum.
Okay. All right. All right. So what were some of the, once you got indoctrinated and you realized that everything is top secret, and we did clarify with the Library of Congress, you can talk about what you feel comfortable talking about.
Sure.
You know, we won't pull anything.
It's all been declassified now.
Right.
anyway.
Okay. Okay. So what would have been during this period of time your more interesting assignments or interesting duties that?
Well, actually, what I was supposed to be doing, you know, was mingling with the teams.
Mhm.
Okay, I was a newbie per se. Okay, they weren't going to just toss me on the team and expect me to, you know, be proficient, so to speak. You know, so the first couple of months was supposed to be a learning curve. Okay, all the FOBs were made up of reconnaissance teams and reconnaissance companies. Okay, majority of them were reconnaissance teams. They were called spike teams. That was a code name, spike team.
Right.
They were all given code names. You know, if it was Khartoum, they had state names. They were like Spike Team Michigan, Spike Team Arkansas, Spike Team Mississippi, or whatever. Okay. So my first 2 months, my primary assignment was the communications center. I was a communications officer, so I would hold duty in the communications bunker, monitoring team activities. You know, you got teams out, you got teams on the ground, you got teams going in, teams coming out, whatever it is. You always had to have total communications. Okay. Sometimes the teams were far enough out that You don't have communications with them, but you have communications with the aircraft that's talking to the teams and stuff like that. So my first couple of months was in the communications bunker, for night duty, day duty, whenever they needed you, and then you would just hang out with what was going on within the camp, because the teams when they'd get a mission, they went through a training, a debriefing and a training, and they just don't give you a target area and say there you go, and if you had good team leaders, okay, you went through a very rigorous training prior to your insertion. So I was supposed to, for the first 2 months, just kind of hang out and watch what was going on, pay attention, and I could participate too, with some of the different drills that the sergeants were going to. But so that was primarily my first couple of months. And then when they felt, I guess, I don't know if they felt they sent me up to Quezon next, which was FOB 3. Okay. At that time, they were just putting this FOB together. Okay, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But this was a new FOB they were putting together in Quezon. Okay. So all these guys were kind of new teams. Okay, it's not like the team was already established, and you're now filling in for somebody that may have been wounded or killed or something like that. We are starting from scratch up in Quezon. We got all new teams, okay, because it was a new camp. And we didn't have the ability in Quezon that we had down in Khartoum. Khartoum, you had, Da Nang even, you had nice huts with roofs on them and fans inside and stuff. But by the time we got up to Quezon, they were military tents. Where we were in. We were staying in military tents, and everything was sandbagged and stuff. So they were just building the camp. When I got there, they were just working on our command bunker, which was our command bunker and our hospital, so to speak. And if none of you are familiar, if you've done enough interviewing, you've probably heard of Quezon. Okay, it was a Marine base, really. Okay, and all the news that everybody saw on the television at home revolved around the Marines, because it was a Marine combat base. But we were a top secret organization, and our camp was right next to and part of the Marine base. Okay. So we launched from our base into Laos or wherever it might have been. So there was not a lot of knowledge. Even my folks didn't know that I was up in Quezon, because they would have been asking questions, well, what are you doing up in Quezon? The news says everybody's up in Quezon, it's Marines and stuff, So I wasn't, my folks didn't know I was in Quezon until after I got home. So anyway, when I finally got up there, we got assigned to a spike team. Now you're preparing to become, active. Okay, so to speak, and we work with the indigenous, okay, and the indigenous to Quezon, their ethnicity, I guess, their ethnic background was Chinese, but they were called Bru. All right. And it was the mountain yard tribes. The special forces liked to work with the mountain yards. Okay, the mountain yards were they were more easily trained. They were tribes. So the Vietnamese people themselves was a big country, but the mountain yard people were tribes, individual tribes. They had different tribes. They had the Sioux, the Rade, and a couple different tribes and stuff. So anybody that's in these tribes, everybody knows everybody, so they become you know, they're easier to train and they're easier to, they're more reliable.
Sure.
You know, we just had more trust